I think as leaders, they control the weather. That's a number one thing. I always tell leaders, you are absolutely entitled to your emotions, and you should display emotions because it is who you are and it is authentic to the experience that you're having. We also have to be aware because as leaders, we are extremely visible. Our voices carry more weight than other people who are sitting in different parts of the organization. And so I'm not saying that we need to mask our emotions, but we have to be aware of the impact that our own emotions have. So depending on where the leader themselves are in that change curve, they have to be aware that this could actually pull people towards that. So if somebody is angry about a change that is occurring, it will most definitely leak onto their teams.
Hey everyone, it's Amy Lynn Durham, and you're listening to Create Magic at Work. Create Magic at Work is on a mission to equip senior leaders with tools they need to be a true quantum leader and actually understand what that means. Improve employee engagement, retain top talent, and transform your workplace culture to have less drama and stress. So let's start making magic. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Create Magic at Work. Today I have a special guest for you. It is Nenuca Syquia. She is the CEO and co-founder of Better Organizations by Design, Boxed, a BIPOC, women-owned and led firm that makes the people side of business growth less chaotic and more efficient. Nenuca founded Boxed with two goals in mind: to make toxic, inequitable workplaces a thing of the past, which is completely in alignment with Create Magic at Work, which is, of course, why she's a guest on the show. And also, the other goal is to challenge the model of management consulting, which historically has only been available to executives and industry giants. She equips brave change makers at companies of all sizes to build better teams and organizations. I love that. I love opening up these tools to everyone. Nenuca has transformed businesses large and small, from Sanofi to the San Francisco Ballet. She was born and brought up in the Philippines and is currently based in the San Francisco Bay Area. She proudly leads a diverse team of consultants, coaches, and specialists located across the U.S., Canada, Latin America, and the Philippines. Nenuca provides unique perspectives on leadership, team effectiveness, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the design of healthy, prosperous organizations. She holds a Master's of Industrial and Labor Relations from Cornell University and a Master's of Science in Organizational Development from the University of San Francisco. Nenuca, welcome to Create Magic at Work.
Amy, I am so happy to be here. And I loved the title of your podcast when I first stumbled across it, because creating magic at work, we spend so many hours of our lives at work. Why would we not want them to be enriching, magical, special, meaningful? Yeah, I'm all
Thank
about
you.
this.
Yes, I'm like, yes, keep going. Love it. So tell the magic listeners a little bit more about Boxed. I love everything it stands for. And I want to hear, I guess there's a few themes I wanted to talk about. Why don't we talk about that? One of the themes was how you like to go into chaotic situations and transform them. And that feels very in alignment with quantum leadership, spiritual intelligence, and also leaving toxic workplaces in the past. So maybe we can start off talking about, and maybe telling a story of something you've experienced with a company where you went into the chaos and you were able to transform some of the energy into some really beautiful innovation or something like that.
And let's broaden the word chaos to include dysfunction, because sometimes you think of chaos with a big C, where everything just feels like absolute pandemonium. And then there's the tiny c, chaotic, I would say, which is we might feel that as the individuals who are experiencing it. And that's what starts to lead up to levels of dysfunction in my mind, because the big C chaos sometimes that's brought on by external pressures or disasters outside of. I think of the likes of Southwest recently. That's
Yeah,
like chaos
yeah.
with a big C. That's chaos
Mm-hmm.
with a big C. So depending on when you're listening to this episode, we're talking about when
Right.
Southwest, their booking system for all their staff was not working for what it was, and it led to super chaos for all customers and in airports, leading to people being stranded, literally stranded in locations. So I'm not talking about that big C chaos. I'm talking about the small C chaos that we might experience in the day to day of companies. And
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm not going to call out a company by name, but I think
Mm-hmm.
in this story, people will see a lot of similarities. So we can think of Small C. Here's one story, which is a company born of several companies coming together through a merger. So
Mm-hmm.
you can imagine, Amy, the differences in culture, how
Yes,
things
been
get
there.
done.
Yes.
Yup. Even the words people would choose to use from a day to day perspective, how different that is, that leads to the small c chaos, which is people are constantly trying to make their way through it. So, should we dive into that story a little bit more?
Yeah, I'm curious. I like this chaos topic because I think if leaders can open their eyes a little bit more and understand that when chaos is occurring, that is actually an opportunity to make quantum leaps in their
Yeah.
company. And I'm wondering if you've seen that firsthand with Boxed going in and helping address the chaos.
I like what you're saying with that, Amy, because I think
Mm-hmm.
of chaos as a chance for growth. You know that
Yes.
saying, a comfort zone is a beautiful thing, except nothing ever grows in it? That's true at an individual level, but also at a company level.
Well, I'm wondering what are some things that you see in the chaos when you take a look at companies that are having the little c issues or even the big C issues. What are some examples of that?
Absolutely. So the first thing I'll say is typically in those situations in chaotic workplaces, it
Mm-hmm.
is not a function of people being bad people. I just want to quickly get that out of the gate.
Love
Rarely
that.
is it because you have toxic players. They do exist, don't get me wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
rarely is it because of that. It's largely because, like the story of that company that I was talking about, where it's a merger of more than three companies actually of different sizes coming together. Each of those companies, their employees are coming in having been so used to working a certain way. And imagine this, Amy, they joined this company because they affiliated themselves with that purpose. They identified with that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're part of this much bigger company, which is one, they're not sure what it means that they are now all together. What is their new identity? Two, that's not the cause that they signed up for. That was not the purpose that they signed up for. And so you have people coming in with their ways of working that they were so used to, and now you're switching out to who they are identifying, who they are. I signed up, let's say, to work as part of this organization that's so focused on serving voters. But now you're telling me I'm also going to be serving corporations. That is a huge shift in terms of how they need to be thinking about who their work actually enables. And then, apart from ways of working, I started talking about this language.
Mm-hmm.
Simple things as acronyms, people not being able to understand who means what. So, this sounds really messy. You can imagine how, when the team start getting together, they spend so much time just trying to figure out what they actually mean. And the work that we did with them was first helping them establish some kind of order. And I think a lot of people think of organizational structures as a really boring and sometimes punitive thing where they think of, okay, now we're going to be laying off people. But the way
Mm-hmm.
I think of organizational structures is you're allowing people to understand what their role is in the bigger ecosystem. So that's the first step. Once you start bringing companies together, or when you start growing a company, you want the individuals who are in this company to understand the lane that they're falling into, so that they understand, okay, this is what matters to my job and this is what I need to be working on. The second thing we started doing with them was, after we set that order, we helped them allay some of the fears around what is the future of this company. The second thing we started working on is, what does this new combined company, what is their mission, what is their vision, and what are their goals? Because that allows people then who are still with a company to understand, is this the company that I actually want to be in? Can I get behind this? So you're starting to slowly chip away at the uncertainty that people are facing. And that's not meaning to say, Amy, that I'm saying people should not be uncomfortable with ambiguity, because
Mm-hmm.
like any company, this company does not fully control the ecosystem that it operates in. There
Mm-hmm.
will always be market pressures that they have to respond to. But what we are giving them is enough centeredness or certainty that this is the company that I believe in, and therefore we can weather anything together. And then the third thing we're starting to do right now actually is
Mm-hmm.
exploring language. It sounds so
Mm.
stupid, but just
No, I
coming up
mean,
with a
yeah.
taxonomy of
Mm-hmm.
what do we mean when we say X? What do we mean when we say Y? Because you have people from different companies saying different things and different functions. The way product versus sales versus engineering will define and speak about problems will be all from different lenses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think that's so important. I think there there's something you touched on that I want to talk about, and that was talking about when we're going through change in the workplace, whatever it may be, it can be stressful at times. And actually, as we're recording this, there's a lot of large tech companies that announced
Mm-hmm.
layoffs in the past couple of weeks. And I've really felt for the leaders that are, have been let go, and the leaders that are there with the survivor guilt and how do I lead my new team? How do I be a calming and healing presence as a leader? Who do I want to be in this movie? And of my life and leadership, right? I have seen it in my leadership where people become impatient and they want to sort of filter through. I know that sounds like a terrible way to say it, but filter through individuals that might not be backing their vision or mission or moving fast enough. And I really want to
Mm-hmm.
point out how you said it's not the people. And something came up for me where you said generally it's not the people. There could be a toxic person in the workplace from time to time. But what really hit me when you said that is it's not the people, it's the system. It's your system.
Yeah.
And the system needs to morph to accommodate the people. Now, what a leader has to determine is if the individual that is not perceivably on board is creating drama from an ego induced place. If they're just sharing feedback with wisdom and from a place of good and moving forward, that's something that the high level leaders need to discern and determine. So that's why this work is so important for the top leaders of the company, because that energy will ripple out. And I know that boxed stands for empathy and
Mm-hmm.
compassion and human centered workplaces and helping in that way. So I'm curious, what do you feel is a wise and compassionate leader?
Oh, that's such a good question, Amy. And before I directly answer that, I want to
Yeah.
tag on to something that you just said, which is
Mm-hmm.
sometimes leaders do have to filter out the people that can't get on board with the process. I think it's, yes, that is important to see, okay, who are the people who are really bought into this, but we also have to understand as leaders that change is scary. You said it can be scary. I'm willing to bet it's scary most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
because people don't know what's on the other side, and sometimes they don't even know what's expected of them to change. So as leaders, when we are thinking about who should we be bringing with us along this journey, we also have to give people grace, I think, because they some of them may be operating from a place of ego, but even underneath that, oftentimes it's coming from a place of fear that
Yes.
I am not good enough, fear that I don't fit into this bigger picture. And it's our role as leaders to be able to show people if they do fit and how they do fit into that picture, and if not, what is the best way out for them, and in the sense that this is actually a better thing for them because they can move on to something that truly fills their soul. When I think of change, I think of, I'm sure, Amy, you're familiar with the whole concept of a change curve, that people will move from denial, shock, all the way to acceptance. Each person is going to move through that at different rates. And the leader is so instrumental in helping usher them through that. And whenever I'm thinking of a large scale transformation effort, like the idea that, okay, we need to set up a structure in place so that people understand what their lanes are, we're trying to move thousands, hundreds of people across their mini change curves, but each one is experiencing it differently.
Mm. Yeah,
Like,
that's
make no mistake,
so
it sounds
such a good
neat on the
insight.
surface. Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
sounds neat on the surface, like, okay, let's provide them direction. But no, you actually are managing all these individuals who have their own thoughts and feelings.
And for the listeners, and actually, the way that you described the change curve sounds similar to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages of grief all the way to
Yes,
acceptance. And
yes.
so for the listeners, can you just explain the change curve if they're not familiar with it?
It is actually very much the pattern that we use from an organizational behavior standpoint is actually very much based on the change curve for grief. Because if you think about it, change is letting go of something toward to go to a new way of being. So it in
Mm.
a sense you are losing parts of yourself. You're losing the role that you had, you're losing the identity of the company that you had. In a way, it is a little bit of a death. And so the grief cycle, and very much mirrored by the change cycle, is people go through shock, meaning they're sometimes caught off guard by the change. And this can include change at the big level, which I just talked about, a company being bought out by another company, or at a
Mm-hmm.
small level when somebody gives you feedback that does not jive with how you see yourself. That's
Mm-hmm.
an instance of shock in itself. And then you go through denial, which is, wait, this can't be true. This isn't really happening. And then people go into more negative emotions like anger or feeling betrayed because they feel, I didn't ask for this. I didn't want this. And now this is happening to me. And then they go into denial, which is, this isn't actually happening. It's too bad. Like, this is too bad. This can't be happening. Or this feedback isn't true about me. Or, I don't think we're actually going through with that acquisition. And then
Uh-huh.
they start moving towards integrating the truth to their reality and saying, okay, maybe there is truth to this feedback, or it looks like this transaction is going through. We are going to be now a new company with this merger. And then people start processing what it means for them at an individual level.
So if I'm a leader, a high level leader, and I'm,
Mm-hmm.
I care for my team and I'm experiencing these same feelings, how do I help my team navigate through a change curve?
There are two things I would say specifically on that. And by the way, I may come up with a third or fourth because
Okay.
Amy, I do I do have ADHD and sometimes thoughts occur to me as
Uh-huh.
as I'm building on my own thoughts. Well, the first is that I think as leaders, they control the weather. That's a number one thing. I always tell leaders, you are absolutely entitled to your emotions and you should display emotions because it is who you are and it is authentic to the experience that you're having. We also have to be aware because as leaders, we are extremely visible. Our voices carry more weight than other people who are sitting in different parts of the organization. And so I'm not saying that we need to mask our emotions, but we have to be aware of the impact that our own emotions have. So depending on where the leader themselves are in that change curve, they have to be aware that this could actually pull people towards that. So if somebody is angry about a change that is occurring, it will most definitely leak onto their teams. So I always coach leaders, when you're talking to people, watch for the leaks of your behaviors, meaning your words may be saying something, I'm completely fine with this, but your facial expression, how you might bang on the table will betray what it is you're really feeling about that. And people will look to leaders to say, how should I be feeling about this? Because my leader has more information than I do. So how should I be feeling? And so that's what I would say is, look, be mindful of the fact that you do control the weather for your organization. The second thing that I would say is, remember, the people on your teams are literally human beings. So each one of them is going to be at a different stage in their own curve of grief or change, and having conversations with them to understand where they are is important because you don't want to treat everybody the same, because some people might still be in the shock state, and the way you would need to have a conversation with them to help them move a little bit further along towards acceptance is going to be different from somebody who's angry or who is in denial. I think people try to sometimes be overly efficient in terms of how we have conversations with our team, forgetting that these are really individuals. And so having that one-on-one time to help people process with you as a leader is so important. That's what I've seen the best leaders do. They will take that time through any significant transformation.
Yeah. One of the skills in spiritual intelligence is being a wise and effective change agent.
Mm-hmm.
And your second recommendation on taking the time to have a conversation as a leader with each individual and really seeing them as another human going through something is one of the qualities of a wise and effective change agent. It's someone that doesn't rush to quick fixes, but it's someone that actually looks for the root issue
Mm-hmm.
and really takes that time to fix the overall system, whatever it may be, rather than putting a band-aid on something or avoiding something. So I think that that's a really great reminder for everyone listening that while it might feel we're so busy and we don't have time to maybe have a difficult conversation or a meaningful conversation, that actually that puts you in a quantum leader higher space of being a wise and effective change agent. And though it feels like it's a lot of time, you could actually be quantum leaping yourself in saving a lot of time and transforming or bringing the company culture together much faster. So I just kind of wanted to riff off that with you. Um,
I
yeah,
completely agree, Amy. And I
yeah,
think leaders sometimes underestimate the role as change agents. So I love that you say that, a wise and effective change agent.
yeah. Um, I see the title a lot on LinkedIn that leaders put that in their title that they're a change agent. And, to your point in our conversation today, change is uncomfortable. There's this change curve we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, who are these people that are claiming they're change agents that are actually comfortable with it? And I'm not by any means judging or, putting it down. I'm curious about that. And I'm wondering if they are these amazing people that we're talking about that are wise and effective and understand you don't just put a band-aid on something. You take the time to dig and find the root cause. You find win-win solutions and you hold polarities in the same space, all of those things. So I want to go back to the original question. And I
Sorry,
no
Amy.
no 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 it's fine, it's not that. I really want to hear in all of the companies you work with, that's one thing you talked about is the leaders that really take the time to speak with others. And there was another thing you noted, and it's backed by data, and it's the energy that you hold. You said it, if their language is one way, but energetically they're displaying
Mm-hmm.
something else, the team is going to pick up on that. That is 100% true as a leader, because if you're in a position of power, your team is going to actually feel that energy and it's going to ripple out 10 times over to your
Mm-hmm.
team. So if you're in a place of exhibiting outer peace but you don't have inner peace, that is going to show up non-verbally and it's going to ripple out to your team. And so I just wanted to highlight that and send that out as a reminder for everyone. That is what being a wise and compassionate leader is cleaning up your side of the street and making sure you're holding some inner peace as you're moving your team through change, like we talked about.
And I think too, when you see leaders or any individual really, where what they're saying doesn't match the energy that they're putting out, it feels yucky. Those are the people we say, ooh, they feel disingenuous. They look like they're trying to spin this, and you can tell that they're trying to say this party line or this party messaging, but they themselves don't believe it. People are not stupid. you are not hiring people who cannot tell the difference. They absolutely can. And it feels, in my very eloquent term, yucky to witness that in your leader.
You know, that is so, I'm thinking about that, and I'm like even expanding it with anyone we interact with. We can feel if someone is not fully showing up in a
Mm,
space as to who they really are. And that could be for a multitude of reasons, right? With systems that we work in, especially with some people that haven't really felt free to be who they are in the workplace.
yeah.
Um, but to your point, yeah, we can all tell for
Yes.
whatever reason, right? So,
Yeah, and that discomfort can be because there's a dissonance between what they believe and what they're being said. We're being told we have to do this as leaders. But to your point, because the systems are not necessarily designed for everybody, there's discomfort because they know they're having to switch who they are to better fit that system. And that is uncomfortable, not for me to witness as a person. I mean, watching that individual, but it's uncomfortable because I know it's wrong.
so it's like a values violation
Yeah.
internally. Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. Uh, I ask every guest on the show what they feel a quantum leader is, because I want to take us beyond servant leadership and move into quantum leadership. So I'd love to hear your take on what a quantum leader is.
I think a quantum leader, if we're defining it as based on quantum thinking and the principles of quantum physics, I think a quantum leader is able to hold multiple truths at one time and therefore is
Ooh.
not a binary thinker and is able to see multiple possibilities. I'll add that too. And I don't just mean a leader in terms of formal leadership in the company. I mean anybody really who's trying to be even a thought leader in the space doesn't think of things as a fixed pie also, which is it can only be this. And if I take away from one part of the organization, it's therefore taking away for, it means more for the other. That you can have multiple pies and the pie can be expanded.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Holding multiple truths at one time. That
It's
is
very,
a quantum leader. How can I hold opposing views in the same space? How can I hold multiple truths at one time? How that is complexity of thought and perspective taking at a high level leadership space skill. So thank you for sharing that. That's a new one I haven't heard. That's a great one.
can I add to
Okay.
that too, Amy?
Yes, please, please.
Which is that ability to hold multiple truths then unlocks multiple possibilities. Because if you think only one way to be or for things to work, there will likely only be one answer. A quantum leader, in my mind, is a leader of possibility, of potential.
Unlimited potential, right? The field of
Yes.
pure potentiality and unlimited potential in the quantum space. That's so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. I love it. We're going to wrap with on that note by pulling you on the field of all potential that we'll tap into. I'm going to pull a journal prompt card for you for my journal prompt card deck. It's for your career and for your workplace. It's a deck of 33 cards. Each card has an affirmation and two questions, or we'll do like one coaching question for you to answer for the listeners. And this message is actually for anyone listening also, no matter when you're listening to this episode. I'm shuffling right now. Oh my gosh. There are no mistakes every time I pull a card from this deck, because we were talking about teams and change and who you want to be. And look what we get: teamwork. Right? How
Perfect.
cool is that? So the affirmation on the card is: I now attract positive people into my life who serve my highest good. So everyone listening, I now attract positive people into my life who serve my highest good. Nenuca, I want to hear from you what you think a supportive team feels like.
Oh, Amy. I mean, it's in the title. It feels like magic. So when you have a team, and when you say supportive, I don't just mean supportive of one person, but really supportive of each other, and everybody being able to use their best strengths, and everybody supporting the other to be able to do that, because people don't feel insecure. I think it is people, a supportive team is probably comprised of individuals who are sure in who they are and what they bring to the table, and therefore they feel confident and happy to make the other person shine, because they know that the other person
Mm.
shining bright does not dull their shine. And I've been on multiple teams where you've had that kind of magic. I mean, I have it also at Box. My team is amazing. And they're the kind of people that you would sit in a really hot room with, because you're whiteboarding, because you are just building on each other's ideas, and you don't even notice how many hours have passed, because the energy, the crackle is so real, because everybody is not worried about themselves, how they look. They're focused on the team and the ideas that everybody else has, and that's what allows them to create more magic than if they had been trying to do this all separately. And I would also add, I think a magical supportive team is one also where people feel really comfortable, where they can show up when even they're having a bad day, and they know that their team's going to be the one that pulls them out of the funk and helps them recalibrate so that they can go on for the rest of the day and be their true selves for the rest of the day, doing their work and even showing up for their families.
Yeah, that was a beautiful answer. Thank you. How can people connect with you, get a hold of you if they want to learn more about Box and what you do?
So I would love it if people would come find me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn, I was lucky. I got the first one. It's just Nenuca. It's my first name, and Amy will you'll be able to see it in the episode notes. And
Yes.
come find us on our website, boxt.us, box.us.
So amazing. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Create Magic at Work podcast. And thank you for sharing all of these wonderful gems that get leaders thinking about more of these quantum high level skill sets so we can create transformation and change in a much more meaningful way. Thank you, Nenuca.
In a much more human way.
Yeah, there you go. A much more human way. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. Sending magic to everyone. Hi, everyone. Amy Lynn Durham here. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. All the show notes and links can be found at createmagicatwork.net, or you can just look in the show notes in the episode and they're right there for you. Come back each week and make sure you subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Keep joining us for more exciting episodes where we help you transform workplace culture to leaders that create less drama and stress and have high productivity and profitability. You have the power to create a burnout-free workplace right now. You can gain access to my new course, Create a Burnout-Free Team and Workplace, where you'll receive step-by-step tutorials in creating a team and organization that thrives. Click the link in the show notes to join us. I hope we brought a little magic to your day. Sending magic to everyone, and see you next time.